All right, hey, welcome back. We're going to talk about the Roman Republic. And so while we finish up Greece, and Greece is kind of seen as the start of Western civilization, right? It has the origins of the ideas of democracy and philosophical thought and art and all that. Um, when Rome comes around and conquers the Mediterranean region and starts to spread into Western Europe, Rome kind of defines exactly what Western civilization will be. It creates this idea of a centralized government system, centralized culture that spreads and has a long lasting a legacy, I suppose, right? At its height, Rome stretched all the way from Turkey, from India, from England in the west, all the way to Turkey in the east, Germany to Spain, even into North Africa. So, I mean, Rome was, the Mediterranean Sea was considered the Roman bathtub. It encircled all the Mediterranean Sea. Rome was one of the largest, longest lasting empires that human history has seen, right? Um, and so really what Rome is going to do is it's going to take what Greece started and it's going to build upon it. It's going to take all of the intellectual ideas of Greece and it's going to combine them with this Roman, I'm gonna call it this like Roman work ethic of ingenuity and engineering and organization to build infrastructure and to spread ideas and to control things. Rome comes about. It was a group. Rome itself has pretty humble origins. It's just like everybody else. It just starts off. It was a small city settlement it had 7 hills around it, which provided defense. It was this group of area that spoke the same language. They were called the Latins. The hills provide defense. We kind of talked about that, and they have the Tiber River, which allows Rome to connect to the Mediterranean Sea, which is going to allow for trade access, right? The history of Rome, or I guess the fable of Rome, is that it's founded by two brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were born to a Latin king, and then they were taken by their uncle, and they were thrown into the river, and the brothers are discovered by a she wolf, and then they're nursed back to health, and they grow up, and they take revenge on their uncle, and they come to find 2 cities, and Romulus kills his brother and founds the city of Rome on the mythical date of April 21st, 753. The Romans will also, excuse me, the Romans will also tie their heritage back to the city of Troy in some ways. That's how they kind of connect. That's how they'll connect this connection with the Greek culture that Rome's going to have, right? It also shows kind of the origin story of Greece or of Rome and how Rome wants to see themselves. They want to see themselves as survivors, and they're kind of wild, right? Where are we at there? The Romans are very warrior like. They fight with their neighbors just like everybody else. At one point they're ruled by Etruscan kings from modern day Tuscany, which is part of Italy. I mean, it's just part of Florence in that area. And so they're going to be influenced by the Tuscan ideas. They're going to be influenced by the Greeks because of the trade and Greek gods and the Mediterranean world, and all that's going to happen, right? Somewhere around 600, the Romans drained their swamp. They were ruled by a king, and the Romans ultimately kind of revolt about this. They somewhere around 500 BCE, they overthrow their king, and they establish some sort of a republic in which a republic is just a nation of laws in which senators are going to make the important decisions, and so because of this disdain for a ruling king, you're not going to see any any Roman refers to themselves as king, they would use the word rex, which is Latin for king, but they're not going to use that nomenclature. And so like when we get into the Roman Empire, they're going to refer to themselves as Caesar instead of king, because king was unattractive. So the Roman Republic is going to last for about a 500 year period. And then it's going to be replaced by the Roman Empire, which is going to last for about another 100 years, or 500 years. And so you're looking at about 1,000-year rule of the Roman Empire, at least in the West, the Western Roman Empire. And if you want to talk about like the Eastern Roman Empire and Constantinople, you're really looking at the West is going to last from, let's say, 508 BCE to 476 CE. That's the that's the Western Roman Empire. And then the Eastern Roman Empire from 508 BCE through 1453, when Constantinople falls. You're almost looking at a 2,000-year period there. So the Rome's going to be around for a long time. It's going to have a huge impact on Europe and on the West. The Roman Republic, it's the assembly is going to pass the laws, and the Roman assembly is going to be elected by the citizens of Rome. And to become a citizen of Rome, you have to have certain amounts of wealth. But each year this assembly would elect 2 members out of it. So you're going to have, like, think of the assembly, this is a bad example, but think of the assembly kind of like as the Congress. And then out of the Congress, you're going to have the executive branch come, and that executive branch is going to be the councils. And so they're going to be the head, not only they're going to be the head of the government. And so they're going to enforce the laws. They have the right to decide on life or death for lawbreakers, and they have almost unlimited power, right? And so the councils are, for their year in office, they're going to be escorted everywhere by 12 bodyguards that are going to be called lictors, and we have pictures of them there. And these lictors are going to carry around this bundle of sticks that's wrapped around an axe, and this is going to be called the fasces. And so what that represents is like the will of the people and the unity of Rome. And it also depicts the ability of the councils to take life with the axe, or to hand down punishment. And so this symbol here is going to be kind of manipulated when the Second World War comes around and Mussolini takes over Italy, and he forms his fascist party, and he's going to tie that back to this symbol. And so, like, when you look at the American government, like the House of Representatives has fasces hanging on its wall, or the Lincoln Memorial, when Lincoln's sitting on his throne, he has his hands on 2 fasces that don't have the axe, because obviously Lincoln's is a statue and he doesn't have the power to bring life or death, I guess, unless the statue falls over on somebody. But so the American government is going to be based a lot on the Roman Republic. And so we'll use some of those imageries. When you listen to some of, I don't know, conspiracy theorists or like right-wing radio hosts, every now and then they'll bring up the fact that, the fascist party is look at Washington, D.C. They don't even hide it from you. They just post the imagery right there. Well, those images have been around for 2,500 years, and they mean something other than the fascist party. And so anyways, that's a little to do about that. So again, the fasces symbolize this unity. The axe represents the ability to take or give life, and we have that. There's a Lincoln. There's the I believe that's the specter for the lector for the staff for the Speaker of the House. Here's the fasces that are in the House chamber. And so we have that. Okay, so you have these councils that are that they can serve for an entire year, and they have almost unlimited power, but their powers are limited in the fact that they only serve for a year, and you can't get a whole lot done in a year. And so then also they're limited in the fact that the finances of the republic are going to be controlled by the Senate. And so the people are going to have a say in how money is spent, and it's going to take the councils a while to get everybody on the same page, and so they're there. When Rome would face a major crisis, we would do away with the double council, and we would just elect one dictator. And so the centurion assembly would elect a single dictator, and he's given full power. And so he was supposed to control Rome for the period that it would take to overcome whatever crisis was in front of it. It could have been financial crisis. It could have been, a war or an invasion or something like that. And so, like, although that we're giving unlimited power to one person, the idea was this person would guide Rome through this difficult period, and then he would hand the power back. And it actually works really, really well for a long period of time, because everyone looks at this as a temporary position, and they look at their position in Rome, or what people think of them, is more important than the power. Rome is a very segregated society. The very rich are called patricians. These are the first descendants of the first 100 families of Rome, the original Senate that was orchestrated by Romulus. They would ally with other rich people, and they would own large amounts of land, and they would control the plebeians. And so think of the patricians over here. They're the wealthy and the rich, and then you have the plebeians, who are everybody else. So the plebes are just everybody, the common people that aren't descendants of those original 100. And so there's social laws in which patricians can't marry plebeians, regardless if it's a male patrician and the female plebeian, or vice versa. And so you have this, for argument's sake, you have this oligarchy in Rome, in which the rich kind of control everything, and the poor are just there. And so as Rome goes about, you have about 400 years. In the Senate, is trying to gain a little bit of power away from the councils. Obviously they only have the 1 year, and they have to get the finances through. But the Senate's like, hey, maybe they have a little bit too much power, and so they propose legislation that's going to allow them to veto some of the actions of the council. And so they start to set and the Senate could also set aside funds for wars and public buildings, and so the Senate is able to kind of manipulate the councils a little bit, which I suppose is good. It's a diffusement of power, but still it's going to be a situation where the rich have the big say in everything. The assembly was going to be divided into different houses based on wealth. Obviously, patricians are going to be have varying degrees of wealth, and so the equestrian portion that is going to be made up is going to be the richest, and then you're going to have just your regular enlisted kind of foot soldier people, and then miscellaneous or whatever, right? The assembly votes on the council once a year. They can declare the assembly can declare war, or the councils can declare war or peace. And we go through there, right? So let's just stop there for this first video, and we'll come back and we'll touch on class and military expansionism and whatnot in the Punic Wars in the second video. We got quite a bit here, so let's just stop here, and we'll come back shortly for video 2. We'll talk about class and class struggle. So hopefully I picked up something about the structure of Roman government there, and we'll see you in a little bit.